All right, guys, this video is going to be a little bit different because it's your final review for the Unit 1 test. As my brother says for Pike Electric, if there's no bubbles, there's no troubles. So let's go ahead and get started. What you're going to do is you're going to go to the next screen and do the work, and then pause the video, and then look for the answer. Don't forget to combine like terms. Don't forget on this one that y must be positive. That's why you have to use the multiplication property of -1. And then this becomes y is less than -1/2 x plus 5. Use slope-intercept format to draw the line. Make sure that the line is dotted because this is an open half plane. And then don't forget to find your test point. Remember that x equals a number is a vertical line. Now, this is a trick question, and I know you're already going to say, but Mrs. Rose, it says -7. But guys, remember that all absolute values would be greater than a negative number. Be careful, make sure you change that feet to inches. Now, for the viability of the solution, D has to be greater than 12, which means he has to wash 13 or more dogs. And so your viability would be either yes if he washes quickly, yes if he takes all day to wash 13 dogs, or you could have said no, that 13 dogs is too much for one person to wash in a day. That viability answer would have been up to you. This is a standard dimensional analysis problem. Please remember, though, that what you needed to do is find the unit rate of 29 1/3 feet per second and then take care of the 100 feet. This one is a bit tricky because, of course, look at this. It says first 500 minutes on her phone. So you do have to be careful with this. I've changed it just a little bit so that I could say let X represent minutes over 500, okay? If you've come up with a different answer, we're going to talk about this one in class, okay? But this is a good starting point. Notice that we had to isolate C on one side of the equation, and then you had to undo distributive property so that C was isolated with the sum of A plus 1. This is also a trick question. Look at this. U miles per gallon, but you're going to deal with gallons. So you're starting with gas in the tank that is gallons, and it's 13 minus rate of usage. But see this? This is a big no-no. If you put U miles divided by gallons times M miles, you would have UM miles squared, and you don't want that. You have to use this rate of change right here, which is miles times gallons divided by UM. And so the final answer would be G equals 13 minus M divided by U. This is a standard multiplication of polynomials. I went ahead and used the box method. Remember, when you name the zeros, it's also to find either the roots or the solutions. What makes that factor equal 0? Then also remember, if you want to do FOIL between the first two terms, that's fine, but it is very challenging to do FOIL three-dimensionally. So typically Mrs. Rose multiplies the first two terms, then she gets that partial product, and then uses the box method to multiply by the third term. This is the standard absolute value inequality. Remember, greater. All right, don't forget that 4 feet has to be, that's right, 48 inches. This is a very curious question. There are several ways that you can solve it. I've solved it one way, and then we'll see and discuss in class if you have the same answer. Speed of a car in feet per second that's traveling 60 miles per hour. Solve for t. There are a couple of ways that you can solve it. Mrs. Rose did it by removing the factor of 1/2. Now, some of you may have just gone ahead and done the special trick about product and factors. Mrs. Rose went ahead and wrote the whole thing out. This is a case where a verbal model might be helpful. This is where you might think that you have 3 variables, but please look at what I've highlighted. Both of the boys, Ned and Tom, are compared to Jill. Verbal model would help here. All right, here's some operations with polynomials. And finally, here's some factoring. The first two are common sense factoring. The third one, which is number 13, is the difference of perfect squares. You've got to be able to recognize that. And then the last one, of course, is tic-tac-toe. So how'd you do? Remember, as you do these during the week, just go ahead and talk to Mrs. Rose in the first couple of minutes of class each of the days. See you tomorrow.